I don't usually pop off on a series this early, considering only a single episode's been out. But a lot of shows lately have been showing up. Made in Abyss, Hoseki no Kyuni, Antarctica Girls, Hisone to Masutan, a lot of great stuff. Shoujo Kageki Revue Starlight is one that I'm going to lump in on that list with the amazing first episode I just saw. I was very, very happily surprised, so I want to talk about it with whatever little amount of information available and hype still in me. And yeah, I am going to talk about the main spoiler or twist of the show, which I think the show really revolves around. The short end of it is that this show isn't what you think it is, and uses that surprise very well to detract from what you might think this show is. I guess the first thing that spoke to me about the show was the fact that it parades itself almost as an idol show. I mean, just from the first opening segment, it feels awfully like the opening segments of something like Idol Master, where we are just basically introduced to our entire cast, which we aren't probably going to ever get to because we have an actual main character to follow. But then there's this whole idol training segment, and even a preliminary goal for our cast to work up towards, which is inevitably this huge performance that is going to show off everyone's skills. But this isn't an idol show. In fact, these aren't idols, but stage performers. That aspect of it is at least interesting. We often see singing and dancing and band performances, but a stage performance, a play, a drama, isn't something that we often see represented in this way. You know, the last time I think I remember seeing a drama be represented as the main core of a show was something like Hinako no, and that was really not that great. At least I didn't think it was that great. That alone, that aspect of making it a stage performance, is at least playing with what I expect from a show of this kind. From the onset, it even looked like it was just following conventions and hinting at all of these familiar notes. And there's really nothing wrong with that per se, but that's not really adding much to the conversation. The description of the show is at least a little more intriguing and mysterious than that, despite having music and slice of life still in its tags, which is true, but very deceptive, considering that it actually does do something different, and that it actually does add to the conversation, especially with what happens near the end. So what exactly does happen near the end of our inaugural first episode? And what exactly is this twist? Everything happens in the end of the first episode. It's the climax of the episode, and the peak of where the show starts to really shine. But that isn't to say that the 17 or so minutes before this ending was a waste of time. To get to that climax, something interesting has to hold it together. Something has to be earned so that the climax feels rewarding. Sure, in terms of narrative, it was setting up the premise. We have a mysterious transfer student / childhood friend who's super amazing and talented, and also super cold. And all these other tropey stuff happens, but it actually wasn't that entirely boring. It actually felt rewarding to watch through all of that and get to the ending. And what really made that happen to me was the directing. Right from the beginning of the episode, when they rolled out the red carpet for our cast, to do it in a way that was able to immediately grab my attention. Mainly through, again, the direction, and also the combination of the musical accompaniment with that. If I were to strip away the scene, then it's, literally an exposition dump, but with all of the pieces together, it feels like a play. It feels like I'm watching a stage play, a performance as it's progressing. The music ebbs and flows along with what's happening on the screen and really carried the momentum and atmosphere that I think the director was going for. It became something that seemed generic, that seemed like it was just there to get its job done, to an engaging scene that said a lot more about the characters and what was happening because the music was just so well chosen to match everything. The scene really popped out to me, and it felt grandiose. It felt larger than what it really should have been. And I think that really captures the essence of stage play, of this kind of mesmerizing experience of watching people perform their hearts out and to make all of these moments really special despite maybe not being that special in the first place. I mean, this really was just an introduction, but with the music, with the way everything was framed, it just pops out and it really escalated the scene in ways that I didn't think was possible. But this isn't the only scene where it felt this amazing, and we get a handful of other beautifully transitioned and stylized moments throughout the episode that may not have felt like a play, but was still really mesmerizing all in its own right. For example, this shot of the dream sequence, that in one way is very much a foreshadow of what's to come, but also just there to break up the formula and to keep things fresh and interesting in the middle of all of the otherwise normal stuff happening. It was really well paced for me, in that despite what was happening with all of the slice of life antics, they were still able to fit all of this in between stylized, imagey moments that really kept the show engaging. They're even really keen on little details, like where her slipper falls off and she has to rebalance herself, which by all means they didn't need to do that, but they do anyway, and that just made the show feel much more vibrant and alive. Whereas if they didn't, that scene might have still been fine and it still got through what it wanted to with the image it shows afterwards, but it just made everything feel that much more better and colorful. For me, this whole episode is just really well directed, and so much attention has been put to make sure that even in the more calm moments of the show, that it's still special, that it's still trying to do something new and different and really pushing themselves away from just being another idol show. The ending, particularly, shows that. The turn happened very quickly and very brilliantly that I was stunned to see the show turn from a slice of life performance idolish show to a straight on action show. It was like watching School Live all over again, and it was amazing. Stripping this scene, we still get a really exciting battle scene, but with everything together, it's even better. The narrative, the premise, the mystery, everything just got amped up so much more than if it really was just a copy-paste idol show, minus actually being idols. It was here that made it clear to me that this show didn't just want to be like its predecessors, but not in an extremely intrusive way either. It was very clever, stylistic, and also very much fit with the genre. They managed to make it feel kind of grounded. Not only did the scene feel like a play with the musical score following the action, but these are again stage performers, and it really felt like we were watching a stage play as much as Karin did. You know, in other idol shows, if that twist were to happen, it might not make much sense, like when Idolmaster showed off that really weird battle movie trailer teaser thing. That was really awesome, but if we were to actually get a show about that, it probably wouldn't make much sense to have them be idols just to shoehorn that concept in. That's really not what this show did, however. They are auditioning and showing off their performance while also battling, but it fits since performance and stage acting can accommodate choreography like this. You're more likely to see this kind of very flashy performance in a stage play than an idol just dancing and singing. So even if the tone was shifted, it still held me in place. It wasn't a drastic tonal and atmospheric shift, it was almost too analogous, and that made the shift very smooth for me. I'm glad that we have this weird mix of music action show that's doing something different, that's not pulling any stops, but also executing on that idea and making something more than just a gimmick. There's just so much flavor to the show, and that's not, again, just from the action, but even from the ordinary scenes. Even the title adds a little extra flavor to the overall show as well. According to Google, a revue is a light theatrical entertainment consisting of a series of short sketches, songs, and dances, typically dealing satirically with topical issues. And that definition basically embodies the show. Short sketches translates to the scenes. Songs is the music, and dances can be interpreted as the action, the dance that happens near the end. Everything just fits way too perfectly into a play, into something that feels staged, rehearsed, scripted, because it is scripted, that having a title like Revue wasn't just there to put a pun on the fact that they're all actors. The whole episode just bleeds its own concept, but there's also that part about dealing with things satirically, and that's maybe not as shown clearly, but it does imply something more sinister or metaphorical about the show. Is the review that is the entire anime a shot at idol shows? Is it a shot at slice of life? Is it a shot at action shows? Who knows, but it's going to be interesting moving forward and thinking about that. At least for me. For me, I'm going to think about the show as a review, as something more than the surface, because it can be. And I think it sets itself to be that way with all of this flashy imagery we get. But it also doesn't have to be. In the end, this show is a play on a common genre. It's a fusion of genres, but it's also doing something different in an interesting and entertaining manner. This is a show that tries to subvert expectations. It's a surprising show, and I hope that this show rides on this memorable and amazing first episode to its finish. I might have ruined the twist and the whole going in blind aspect if you are watching this to the end without seeing the actual episode, but nonetheless, I think it's still so amazing that watching it, despite knowing that turn, will still be great. Hopefully, I don't have to eat my words a few weeks down the line and that I can still think and talk about the show in a positive light.